Turtle Boy is here. Cullinane is here. He's home. His daughter's birthday. She's 4. Happy birthday to Riley. And it's about
Thank
time.
you.
About time, Riley, you got vaccinated. Let's not mess around any longer.
Yeah.
I'm glad you two guys are here because I have a dilemma, and this is perfect because Dave wears a mask in the shower and hid in his house for like a year because he was so afraid of the scary virus. He knocked. I don't know if you heard about this, Turtle Boy. It was in all the papers. He knocked an 83-year-old woman out of the way and onto the ground to get ahead of her in the line for vaccinations at CVS. It was a gif. It was going around. Anyway,
why do I take the brunt of that heat when Shattuck literally did that? He literally cut the line and pulled that off.
But Shattuck has a little bit of a weight problem, so those people
he is vulnerable.
Those people are allowed to the front of the line. Those rather large people. And Turtle Boy, he'll never get vaccinated. He would rather die of the virus.
I'll prove a point. Yes,
to make his point, he goes out and breathes on people, at nursing homes because he won't wear a mask. I'll take a
selfie in hospice just to prove a point.
I'm telling both of you.
There's going to be 3 people left in America without the vaccine. It's going to be Turtle Boy, Aubrey Huff, and Lenny Dykstra. They're going to be the only ones. The only ones left.
What are you seeing, Turtle Boy, in your area specifically? Because Jerry's in the city, so the volume of people he's seeing is obviously higher. I am still seeing people go for walks with masks on where I live in Walpole, Massachusetts.
I'm seeing people drive with them on still.
Yeah,
I tried to take another picture yesterday. I was on the river, and the boat crews, the rowing crews from the colleges and the sculls, they have them on still, and I feel bad. It's not their choice. Obviously, they're forced to wear it. 20-year-old kids out rowing on a river. I tweeted out one picture of them like a week ago, and you see a lot of kids out there biking, running, whatever. And I think they do it because they feel like the colleges, if they get caught, the colleges will destroy their lives. I mean, we've seen it with UMass. They'll take away their degrees. They'll kick them out of the dorm. So college kids are conditioned to just follow the rule, even though the rule is absurd.
Sure. I have a sibling who's in getting his master or his MBA at an unnamed college in Boston right now. He went to a gathering last December. He got COVID. He couldn't come home for Christmas because he had COVID. And they're punishing him and every single person who went to the party by making them write a 24-page paper. I've seen what they do. It's complete bullshit. He got sick. You're
explaining a bad person. Why he wasn't wearing a mask, or what was
I don't know about the origins of COVID, about getting together with a group like that. Look, and you're somehow you in this country, if you get sick, you're a bad person.
I got some advice for your sibling. If he has to write about the origins of COVID, make sure he blames it on a bat or a pangolin. Yes. You can't blame it on a lab in China because that would be racist, and it would also be affirming Trump's allegation. And it is, to me, if you're like a media analyst, this story, if you were impartial, if you were like our guy Bobby Burak at Outkick, there's not many media analysts who aren't woke, but if you were being fair, being objective, it would be the biggest story you've ever covered. It's bizarre when you think about it. The coronavirus, the pandemic, is the biggest story in all our lifetimes. It's one of the biggest stories in the history of mankind. Literally,
yeah, it is.
The virus went around the world, killed 3.5 million people. Destroyed economies, destroyed whole countries. I mean, caused civil unrest. I mean, it's just the biggest story anybody has ever covered. And the media can't cover it honestly because Trump. That's it. I mean, it's so bizarre when you think about it and there's montages. I tweeted one out by the guy Tom Elliott, who's great at putting together the supercuts, just the montages. But you'll see and hear people in the media, mainly, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, literally Washington Post, New York Times, dismissing the theory, the more plausible theory that it was created in a virus and it escaped and it made some laboratory workers sick to start. And then it went around the world. Had nothing to do with a pangolin, had nothing to do with an animal, which is an absurd, or should I say, a much less plausible explanation. And yet the media, and I'm talking prominent people, would dismissed the idea of it being created in a lab out of hand because Trump. That's all. Just because Trump had to be stopped. That was the only reason that they wouldn't honestly cover the origins of a virus, which happens to be the biggest story in all our lives.
It's the same reason they don't want the public schools to open, because Trump wanted them open. They will do whatever the opposite of Trump, what he wants. Period.
And by the way, we talk about this all the time because it obviously impacts Turtle Boy a lot, is social media sites banned and kicked off so many people for even acknowledging the idea of that. And then last night they changed their policy. Now you are allowed to do so. So they turned the
QAnon.
Yeah, that's right. And we got the QAnon alerts on Facebook. We had those.
You literally had people, doctors, scientists, discussing it escaping from a lab and being banned by Facebook or YouTube. You can't do that, even though it looks like they're right, but that's beside the point. It was a genuine, intellectual discussion. Do you think it came from a lab? And they would take that down because people at YouTube, people at Facebook and Twitter are such they're not just ideologues. I mean, they're fanatics. They are absolute extremists. So anything that they saw that might in any way help Trump had to go. I mean, black, if you said the sky's blue and black is white and white is black, it didn't matter. They just judged it on one criteria: does it help the evil orange man? And if it did, they would ban it. They would suspend it, whatever. That is going to be one bizarre chapter in human history when we look back and say, well, yeah, this guy said it came from a lab, or that. Remember the doctor Tucker had on, the woman who literally worked there in China and came on, told the story, perfectly plausible.
They didn't like her.
Banned. I mean, she wasn't allowed to speak because she was telling the truth, but it was a truth that helped their enemy, which was the president.
You mentioned history, Gerry. Who writes history? Michael Beschloss writes history. People you're forgetting who writes history. The same people who write the news. If you think the news is fake, wait till you read about history.
That's a good point. Not Michael Beschloss and my favorite, John Meacham. John Meacham writes speeches for Joe Biden. Consider this is the kind of guy that's going to be writing history books that people are going to be reading in school. He wrote speeches for candidate Biden and then went on MSNBC as a neutral analyst and said how wonderful those speeches are. I'm so disappointed. I used to be a fan of Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw is teamed up with John Meacham, and they're writing a book together. Maybe they already did. I don't know. I can't stand the thought of Tim McGraw, this used to be kind of a badass country star, and he's in bed with John Meacham, one of the biggest frauds and liars out there. But you're right. He writes the history books, and kids in 3 or 4 generations are going to be reading, and they're going to be saying, "Wow, the virus started because someone ate a bat."
Yeah, or it's all Trump's fault. That's how it's going to go down in history. This is all Trump's fault because they get to write history.
And it is bizarre. And we did this yesterday. I want to get to John Cena, but first, the reason I'm glad to have you two guys on opposite sides of this is because I have a dilemma today. My wife made an appointment for me to get vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated. I wanted to wait till vulnerable people, all the old people. Unlike Dave, I wasn't cutting in line, and I still don't really feel compelled to do it. I feel like the virus is disappearing from our lives. Everyone's getting back to normal, but she's got a very practical reason. If we can't do things, what if we can't do things? What if we can't travel? What if you can't go to a restaurant? I said this the other day. What if I'm not allowed to play golf because some golf courses you have to be vaccinated? Then you do it. I'm looking at it strictly, on practical in a practical way.
You are such a sellout.
I think WWE just announced they're coming back to the Garden, and I think you have to be fully vaccinated.
Oh, geez,
to get in, Gerry, you need to. Yeah.
How hard is it to get a fake vaccination card?
I don't know.
There has to be a market for it already.
Are you going to do that?
Hey, by the way, that's a good merch idea. Before I leave, maybe a T-shirt with a fake vaccination
like a
card.
logo on there.
That's a good idea.
But tell me this:
how hard could it be?
What's easier than getting a fake vaccination card? Getting a shot in your arm. I mean, you see, you've become an ideologue, a fanatic from the other side, which I respect. because you're outnumbered and people look at you like you're insane. But you know what I don't like to do, believe it or not? I don't like lying. I'm not like Callahan. It doesn't come easy to me to just lie. And if you get asked by everybody, say you're coming into whatever restaurant or a wedding or something, or go to a golf course and they say, are you vaccinated? The plan for you is to just say yes.
It's not a lie, Gerry. You haven't studied the teachings of the church. It's technically not a sin if you're lying for virtuous purposes.
Oh, really?
That's what I should have told Dershowitz.
I knew you.
Right. I should have told Intercom that.
I knew you'd have some juicy rationalization. Yeah. So, if someone asks you before you come into something, again, if it's a golf tournament, if it's a party, a retirement party for somebody, and they say you can only come if you're vaccinated, you're just going to lie. That's the plan.
I mean, it's not really lying. It's like they have no right to ask you, so it's your duty to tell the opposite of what they. You know what I mean? That's just.
You know what? You're starting to convince me. I don't have to do this. It's just she made an appointment, said she's going to go, and I could go, and I'm like, I don't feel like really any pressure to do it. I don't feel compelled to get this done.
It is a serious question, though. How do you prove you're vaccinated? Like, what does it look like when you have to go? You got to go to UMass. You have to be vaccinated, right? Does your doctor send a note? How do you prove it?
I assume it's a little card, a little piece of paper.
Oh my God. Yeah. My wife lost it on me when I thought I lost the card to the COVID thing from CVS. Yeah. She lost it on me. I thought.
Do you lose everything? I mean,
I found it though. I found that one. I knew I didn't lose
my pass to the Legacy Club.
I'll hold that one. I'll keep going on that, but go on.
Maybe
everyone's calling you sellout Callahan in the comments right now.
Well, I haven't sold out yet. I'm just considering selling out. That's all.
Okay.
And I'm dead serious. I don't lie that easily. I don't like it. If it's someone I know or friend and they say you got to be vaccinated to come to this dinner, do I just lie to him or her? Do I just lie to someone like in my family? I mean, that's all.
Get the stupid shot. It's not worth the hassle anymore. It's not even worth it.
On a practical level, Turtle Boy, what's the big deal? I can handle needles. I just had a bunch of shots for a pinched nerve, like get like cortisone shots, and I don't have a big problem with it. I can do it. It doesn't.
How long does the shot last?
I don't know. I don't even care. I just want to go.
You have to get
want to play golf.
Do you have to get another one next year?
Does that mean my card expires next year?
I don't think we know. I don't think we know about next year yet. I don't think that's confirmed yet. So we don't know.
I think. I mean, the flu shot you got to get every year, right? It doesn't last forever. It's not like the polio shot.
True. But what if it goes away? What if the virus goes away? Do you still have to do it? If we reach herd immunity?
Yeah,
I mean, who cares? I just want, if I'm, invited to play in a golf tournament and they tell me you have to be vaccinated, I don't want to, I don't want to stand there and say, yeah, but it's all BS, and I don't want to turn into Turtle Boy and fight him on. I just want to, live my life, Turtle Boy. You know what I mean?
I guess I know what you mean, but sometimes a man has to take a stand, Gerry. And this is all you have to do, like all Gerry Callahan, this man of principle. It's like, I'm not doing it. And then they dangle the carrot that says golf on it in front of him.
Well, at least he has.
Okay.
At least he's being potentially offered to go do something with people. You don't have that worry. Nobody wants to play golf with you. Nobody wants to interact with you in general.
And I don't want to hang out with them.
You got family things. You got things with your kids. What if you can't go to something, the school play, to see your kid?
That'll never happen. You just lie and you say, my biggest obstacle is the wife. That's it. Like, I just have to convince her it's okay to lie, which is a lot harder than you.
You know what? I'm in the same position. Is I don't want to lie, and in front of my family. I don't want my kids and wife watching me lie. I don't like the idea of that. Just so I can, whatever, go to a party. Yeah, I'm vaccinated. When it's easier to me to get vaccinated. I mean, obviously, Callahan doesn't make a good case for it because he doesn't even know why he did it. It's just to fend off the wolves.
I have asthma, and COVID really attacks the lungs in a very aggressive way. Yeah.
How is our private health information anyone else's business?
It's a good question, and there's a lot of good questions we've gotten from the last year and a half in this whole panic. I mean, think of what we're talking about today. We're talking about, among other things, the Celtics playing the Nets in Boston on Friday night. they're allowed, and what's the number again, Colonnade? 6,000 or something, 6,000 fans. If they were to play on Saturday, they could have 18,000 fans.
Well,
So
they're racist fans.
that's true, the racist fans. But so some arbitrary rule by a governor who loves coming up with arbitrary rules and no logic behind it, no science behind it. He just makes up this rule, and many people, not all, just accept it. They say, okay, we can only have 6. I mean, the Celtics accept it. They should, and I understand why they're not, but if they were being honest, the Celtics owners would stand before the cameras and say, this is absolute nonsense. I mean, why can't we bang the place out? We want to make money, first of all, but you also want a real home court advantage. Some teams can sell out and fill the place and others can't. There's no science, zero science behind it. And I realize we've discussed this for a year and a half now, and the insanity of these wild overreactions and lockdowns by blue state tyrants, by liberal governors like Charlie Baker, and most people just accept it. It's still going on. Tomorrow night, there'll be a small crowd at the Garden for the last game for the Celtics. The last game, an elimination game, right? They're done?
Yep.
Wait, it's only a 3-game series? You only have to win 3? It's not 4? When did they change this?
No, actually, do I have that wrong?
No, first game in Boston is tonight. Second game
tonight.
is Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah, 7-game series.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
no,
sorry.
not tonight. Friday night, right?
Oh, it's Thursday. I always think it's Friday, our last show. Yes, tomorrow night.
So
25% capacity.
Okay.
Game 3, 7-game series.
So no, you're right. So the first game is 25% capacity.
Yes.
And then the next game, essentially, it's an elimination game. That was always my theory, that a best of 7 series, if you win the first 3, it ends. You could win it in 3.
Well, it's over anyway. But
because there's no one even watches the 4th game. It's not even worth.
Tell that to the Bruins and the Red Sox, Jerry.
Okay, it's you can talk about miracles that happen once in a lifetime, but it'd save a lot of people a lot of trouble if you just ended it in 3, and it'd make a real boring game much more interesting.
They're not coming back on this team. Let's put it that way.
No, they're not. But anyway, Friday night, 6,000, 25%. Oh, yeah, whatever it is, 5,000. And then the next game, full house or near full house for no reason whatsoever, just made up arbitrarily by a governor that has no science and no logic behind it, and people just accept it. I realize, Turtle Boy, you don't, because you're a rebel, but you're an outlier. Most people just say, oh, that's too bad. We can't sell the place out. Just put your mask on and shut up and go to the game. And then the next game, 18,000 people will go and no one will ask, what's the difference? What's the difference from Friday to Sunday? What's the difference?
I told you that was that was literally the question that everybody was asking at a cookout over the weekend. Family members saying, why can 25% of people on Friday night go and 100% go on Sunday? Do you think like ABC, right? Isn't it a better television experience to have a full crowd to watch the game? Wouldn't they be lobbying to be like a 48-hour difference? Are you kidding me? At this point,
with what Kyrie Irving did, the whole story. The game is not important. We know the Nets are going to win easily, but the dynamic with the crowd and Kyrie Irving. And by the way, as we predicted yesterday, the media just falls in line. And I was just reading a Yahoo story, and they're talking about all the racist incidents, including the ones with Aaron Jones and Torrey Hunter, totally 100% made up. And they somehow just have to make the accusation, and magically it becomes real.
They have the CC Sabathia quote, Bill Russell in the 70s.
No, Bill Russell was in the 50s.
The 50s. 50s. Is that when he had his home broken into the 50s?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was 60, 70 years ago, whatever that is.
Well, you know what's weird? Why aren't any Celtics players defending their fans? Like, we defend you. You're like this Kyrie Irving, the biggest douchebag in the NBA. Who screwed over you guys, didn't play his heart out. You know what I mean? He sucks. Exactly. He didn't want to play you. And he's calling your fans, the people that cheer for you, racist. Why haven't we heard from Jason Tatum or Brad Stevens to say, no, the Boston fans are not racist? Why aren't they standing up for us, Jerry?
It's a great question, Turtle, but I've been asking it for years. And at times I wasn't allowed to ask it. I mean, seriously, we used to say that on the air. We're just asking. When someone like Torrey Hunter makes up a lie about Red Sox fans, why don't the Red Sox owners, Red Sox management defend their own fans? They're lying about your paying customers. It's frustrating. It's baffling. Why? And even worse, Turtle Boy, they don't just not defend the fans. They take the side of the opposing player who's lying about their fans. The Red Sox owners there's no owners in sports who are less loyal to their fans, less supportive of their own fans. That's why it amazes me that anyone still roots for them. I mean, we know Adam Jones made that up. We know Torrey Hunter made that up. They know. John Henry knows. Sam Kennedy knows. And yet they still won't defend their own fans. Brad Stevens gave some, just cowardly statement on this. Oh, we know sometimes it happens in this. He knows Kyrie Irving. He knows Kyrie Irving's, as you just described perfectly, the biggest douchebag in the league. We know he quit on the Celtics. We know he kicked it, forced his way out of here and screwed over Stevens and everybody. And yet they will not stand up and say that's BS, that he's making that up. He's setting this up because he knows the fans are going to go after him. And
that's all this is. He knows he's
trying to defuse it.
And he's trying to come up with it's the preemptive. They call it, they're racist.
Exactly.
They're not yelling at me because I screwed them over. I didn't play or I didn't play hard when I went there. I was completely overrated. That's not why they're booing me. They're booing me because they're subtly racist, subtly.
But the players agree with them. The players agree with them, whether we like it or not. Because remember, Marcus Smart defended. Remember, DeMarcus Cousins came out and said he dealt with racism in Boston, and Marcus Smart said, "I've dealt with it in Boston and in other cities." So, I mean, my guess is Marcus Smart is, there's a lot of other people that agree with him on that.
And I've said this every time these stories come up. I sat courtside one time, and when Kevin Garnett was still here. And it's amazing. He screams the N-word out 100 times, literally 50, 60 times per game. He's screaming at his own teammates, screaming at the other team. He's just yelling the N-word out constantly. And the big story is that maybe, some fan used the N-word and maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Well, I know at least one player used it all the time. I mean, all the time. And he was a very well-respected player. Maybe, Marcus Smart or DeMarcus Cousins got confused. Maybe they were just listening to Kevin Garnett or other players who use it and do it freely. And there's no one ever says you can't do that. Stop doing that. Maybe a fan said something that they didn't like and they turn it into racism. That's what happened with Adam Jones.
People were heckling him and throwing peanuts at him. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to say they call me the N-word. Then that'll turn them on them.
And you know what happens? The media of course, the Boston Globe, owned by the Red Sox, the paper that is owned by the team, takes the side of the accuser against the people who pay pay the freight, against the paying customers. It's bizarre. And the owner, the management, the managers, the players, nobody defends the fans, even though they know what Kyrie Irving is doing in this situation. They know it has nothing to do with Bill Russell or nothing to do with history of the city. They know what he's doing. He's trying to make a preemptive strike and kind of put them on their heels. They can only.
It's just like with Monica Cannon Grant. It's the same thing what Hopkins did. She calls them racist, and then they show up at her vigil because it's easier to just get in line and be like, "Yeah, I hate racism," than it is to actually do what you and I do and say, where's the evidence? They don't like that. It's just easier to be like, yes, racism's bad.
Especially if you're, a super woke organization like the Red Sox, which has the biggest Black Lives Matter banner in the world, or like Henry or Pizzuti or Kennedy, just these woke limousine liberals who it gives them a chance to stamp their credentials and say, look at me, I care about racial injustice and systemic racism. When they know, Torrey Hunter, for example, is making it up. They know there's no way what he said could have been true, and they know what Kyrie Irving's doing. They know exactly what he's doing. This lunatic a-hole who we was here for long enough for us to know what a weirdo he is. Said, you know what? Those people, I hate those fans. They hate me. I'll put them on their heels. I'll shut many of them up. We read the Shaughnessy column yesterday. Even Shaughnessy is saying, be on your best behavior to Celtics fans. That's exactly what Kyrie Irving wanted to accomplish. He wanted them to say, I got to be careful. I was going to yell at him and scream at him and call him an asshole, which was my theory with Adam Jones. Is someone just called him an asshole? Someone called him a dick,
exactly
and all he did was say, "I can turn that into an international incident." Say he used a racial term. The next day, what happened? Adam Jones got a standing ovation from the fans who were heckling him because they are so determined, to drown out whatever, alleged racist voices there were in the crowd. But that's more of a reason to not believe it, because the people giving a standing ovation, if they heard somebody using the N-word, they'd have pointed them out, kicked them out.
That's the whole thing. Like, that was not just an indictment on the alleged fan that was calling him the N-word. That was an indictment on everybody who were around him.
Exactly.
Who stood there and did nothing for an entire game.
That's what I mean. That goes back to the Michael Che lie, which again I pointed out, and people jump on me and say, "Oh yeah, there's no such thing as racism, right?" Michael Che said 34 people yelled the N-word at Fenway.
Oh, sure.
And he said it on national TV. He said, "Do you realize how racist a place has to be when 34 people yelled the N-word and no one did anything?"
He would be right if that was true. Like,
Exactly.
that's the thing, And
Exactly.
that commenter makes a good point. Let's not forget, Kyrie Irving literally thinks the earth is flat. Why the hell is anybody listening to what he has to say about anything?
Well, he's like, I always use the example of athletes who their whole life people have been listening to every word they say with microphones and cameras and writing it down. So they eventually start thinking they have profound thoughts. They start thinking they're smart. And I made there's a whole lot of people like this. Roger Clemens would be the best example. He used to think because we listened to everything he said, after he pitched, that he was smart. And as you know, he was not. But Kyrie Irving's another example of that. A guy who thinks he's smart because everyone listens to everything he says. They write it down, they record it, they put it on TV. So if you say the world is flat, what happens? Everybody says, "Wow, did you hear what Kyrie said?" It's a really easy way for a dummy to sound like he's smart or profound or a deep thinker. You're right. He thinks.
But my point is, like, that should disqualify his opinion in anything. It's like, I mean, nobody thinks the earth is flat. Like, even liberals don't even think that. They know, they believe in science. They follow the science.
I mean, they think the virus came from a pangolin, but they don't think the world is flat. But we will see tomorrow night and the next game 4, when there's a big crowd, because the scary virus is gone by then. We will see how the crowd reacts. But I have a feeling that he did stifle them to some extent. Yeah. There's gonna be people who cheer for him just to prove that they don't have any animosity towards this outspoken black player. I mean,
I want them to throw popcorn at him. Did you see LeBron's tweet last night? Protect our players because Russell Westbrook had a little popcorn thrown at him.
And I watched the video. You can hardly see the popcorn. He wanted to go fight the guy. They caught the guy, right? It was on video.
Yep.
So, I mean, I felt like saying,
protect our players. Did you forget the malice in the palace? Is that right? What? Picture Ron Artest ever being like, "Protect me." No, Ron Artest would have went in the stands and kicked the shit out of you, as he should. Protect me.
I always defend players' rights to go in the crowd and hit people.
Mike Milbury would beat you with a shoe.
But I remember in the 70s, Chris Chambliss for the Yankees, and the Yankees-Red Sox was wild. Fights in the stands. I mean, it was wild back then. Even, it's still a little tense, but it was crazy back then. Chambliss got a dart thrown into his leg while he was like on third, I believe, or first maybe. He was standing there, boom, someone threw a dart and hit him in the leg.
It's a good shot right there.
Now
Was it a trank?
That's a fan who's a little out of control, but they're going to nowadays they catch them and they kick them out and they ban them. I mean, that's what they'll do with the popcorn guy. I'm not sure what you accomplish by throwing popcorn. I don't think that hurts.
It's so degrading to have popcorn thrown at you that I think.
I guess you're right. It's degrading, but it's not going to hurt. Not going to do any damage.
You got to protect the players, though.
Well, it's all you have. It's all you have. You're angry. You're like, I got to throw something.
Yeah, you don't want to throw beer, even though they'll do more damage. You don't want to.
Beers are that's expensive.
Yeah, that's a waste of money.
But
wait, so do you know the Bruins? They're playing the Islanders. The Islanders we avoided the Penguins, so they're going to have a game coming up too at home. Is that going to be sold out?
Full capacity.
After
Full
the
capacity.
29th. Yes. When's their first home game? The Bruins.
I don't think they've announced the schedule yet, so I'm assuming early next week.
It's either
So they
Saturday
get
or
off.
Monday, I believe. But whatever.
game
as long
one's
as
gonna be full.
it's 29th is Saturday, you're allowed to have a big crowd.
That's going to be exciting.
Near capacity.
First game,
not total, but near capacity. That'll be wild.
Oh, it won't be total.
I don't know. We tried to get an answer the other day. It'll be close to total. So you get a real crowd. They have to wear masks, which is silly. But anyway, I mean, you see, like the coaches are still wearing masks. The players aren't. I just watched a video of Tebow going to practice in Jacksonville, and the players are all walking out with their helmets and and he's wearing a mask. None of the other players is, just Tebow. I know he's a strange guy.
Good citizen.
I mean, we've reached the point where you can wear a mask the rest of your life. Obviously, it's your choice, but you look silly. You look silly when you're riding a bike or, walking your dog outside, wind's blowing, sun, and you're wearing a mask. You look like an idiot. Okay.
I wear it when I'm mowing the lawn. The real reason for these masks, the pollen has been very bad lately, so it's protecting me. Right. That's why I'm wearing. If you see me with a mask around Walpole, it's because I'm clearly mowing my lawn. So it's because it's for health reasons. I'm
telling you, Turtle Boy's winning this debate on whether I should give in and get vaccinated so I can. What if they don't let you go on a plane? I visit my daughter in DC. I want to go back.
Fake ID. How hard could it be?
I don't know. You tell me. Are you going to get a fake vaccine card?
Yeah, I guarantee there's I guarantee there is a market for it right now. How hard could it be? It's not like it comes with like a barcode or anything or like
I don't know. Dave, what does your vaccine card look like?
It just says the dates of both times I got my shots. It's very basic. We can definitely make fake ones. Yeah, we can make a lot of money here. It's a good business. Yeah.
Did you have a fake ID when you were younger, Turtle Boy?
Yeah, it got taken at Fenway the first time I tried to use it. It didn't work very well. But this doesn't even require a picture. They can't. It's like you just print something.
What if you go to the airport? I'm gonna trip plan. I'm going down to see my daughter with my wife, and they look at it and they say, "No, this is not legit." You could tell, and I get like arrested.
How can they tell?
Isn't it easier to just get a shot in the arm?
No, it's easier to print out a piece of paper and write some doctor's signature on it. That's what it's easier to do.
I do feel like a sellout, but I also feel like a guy who doesn't want to be bothered with the people who are going to be making these rules. You've seen enough over the last year and a half. They're going to come up with a way to keep you Neanderthals.
You are such a Tory. You are such a Tory. You would have drank in the tea, wouldn't you? You would have drank the British tea.
Officer, my neighbor has a little Jewish girl up in the attic. I'm pretty sure I saw her.
I bet you do that. Wouldn't you? You would. You sell out.
Will we get banned from YouTube for saying the vaccine has like a tracking device in it? So now you're just gonna eventually it's just gonna turn out you're gonna go somewhere and you're fucked. So I say you just get it.
Yeah, maybe I want to visit someone in the nursing home or an assisted living facility. What happens then? I can't go in or I have to get a fake vaccine card.
Yes, get a fake. They're available in the Turtle Boy store.
Here's what they're doing to us, Turtle Boy. They're making us all liars. That's what they're doing. They're making us liars. We're all going to lie about our status. But before we move, all right, tomorrow night at the Garden, Celtics, which are putting up a pathetic effort, are going to get no help from their small crowd because of what Irving did. And I hate to give him credit, but he put them on their heels. He lied, obviously. He admitted at first that he's never actually experienced racism. And then he said, everyone knows about it. Everyone. And one of his teammates said, oh, yeah, the whole world knows about that place. I mean, that place, every night there's an incident somewhere else. I mean, what about Philadelphia, where they threw popcorn at Westbrook? I mean, shouldn't players be bitching about that?
There was an incident at a Blackhawks game a few years ago.
It does feel though that we only really hear about Boston in these stories, does it not?
But there's a reason. There's a reason for it. It works. What Irving did was lie about Boston, but he accomplished his goal. He's kind of like Turtle Boy. He lied and he won. He won. Now, Friday night, the crowd will be quieter. They'll be kinder and gentler to Irving. They won't dare, cross the line, even if it means calling him an a-hole or a piece of garbage. They won't do that because they know that if that it could be translated as racist, and they don't want to do that. That's the problem here. Nobody, and Turtle Boy said it, nobody will defend the fans. Nobody will defend the crowd, even though the player, once again, we believe is lying, is making this up. And we know why. Nothing's more maddening. You know what I mean, Turtle Boy, when they say, why would he lie? Again, Adam Jones got a standing ovation the next day. Irving is going to win the game 3 Friday night, and the crowd is going to be docile, relatively speaking. I mean, they'll do their best to cheer and be positive, but they're not going to really go after him. Do you think?
It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. Like, don't you, like, he's like, he doesn't want to get booed. It's going to hurt his feelings, so he's going to do the preemptive. You might be racist if you boo me, and it's going to work.
If you really go at me, if you really yell aloud and get mean, if you're really mean, you're racist.
He took a microphone and he told the most loyal Celtics fans in a private event that he was re-signing with the team. And then he did not re-sign with the team. And along the way, did more asshole-like actions. There is a reason he will get absolutely bombarded with hate, not racism, with hate. And real hate.
I'm telling you, Turtle Boy's right, though. You can interpret it any way you want, and for him, if you got on him and you called him an asshole or a piece of garbage to his face, that's racist to him, right?
Yeah. You wouldn't say that to a white person.
No, you'd never say that to Bill Lambier.
Yeah, you would say that to Joe Klein. Would you?
All right, before Turtle Boy has to go make his fake vaccine card, we talked earlier about how this is the biggest story of our lifetimes, and there's a lot of a lot of superlatives to come out of this last year and a half, including the biggest coward in the whole COVID, the history of COVID, has to be John Cena, does it not? I mean,
biggest sellout.
I mean, and I'm looking at
LeBron Cena.
But I said it's worse than LeBron. It's worse than LeBron. It's better in one regard. Cena doesn't dump on America. But LeBron didn't do, when LeBron kisses China's ass, he doesn't do it in Mandarin. That was a new low, and it's embarrassing. And I'm looking at the friggin' Huffington Post here, and they got a story, and they're just killing him. And all these liberal, Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, total liberal pinhead, killing John Cena. Said it's outrageous and over the top and all this. I'm looking. Keith Olbermann calls him he writes such gutlessness from John Cena. Amazing.
John Cena has united the right and the left, Jerry.
He has, and I mean, I watched it again last night, and it's remarkable. Not only is it in Mandarin, and is he putting his heart and soul into it, but he doesn't mention what he did. He said he made a mistake. We know what his mistake is. He called Taiwan a country. Two things. It is a country, and he did it, and he mentioned it in passing with no malice and no intent. He just said Taiwan's the first country who's going to see the movie. And when he made the mea culpa in Mandarin, he wouldn't mention what he did. He doesn't mention the mistake he made. He doesn't mention that he said Taiwan's a country and upset the people in China. So we wouldn't even go there. He wouldn't even say what he did wrong, which is remarkable when you think about it. The guy made a confession, made an apology to China in Mandarin, and was so afraid of the Chinese and the backlash, he wouldn't mention what he did to upset them. I mean, this is allegedly a tough guy. This is allegedly, a big, strong, manly, macho guy. And we've never seen anyone grovel like this. We've never seen anyone so obsequious to a genocidal communist regime. I'm telling you, he will never recover from this. I'm trying
to think of a movie, like a real life, like he is a sissy. I know he's like a larger than life personality, but that character where the guy's really jacked up, but he's a real dork. He's the stupid guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like his character in Trainwreck.
True.
With Amy Schumer, which I thought he was excellent. I laughed out loud. He was funny in the movie theater. He was dorky. and you thought he was terrible. But
yeah, well, I just think he's a terrible actor.
you got
in general.
a higher bar.
You see him? Did you see him in Blockers? Did you see Blockers?
I did not see Blockers.
That was a rough one. Yeah, he's not good. It's just another comedy. He was in The Marine. He was decent in that Marine movie.
I saw The Marine. I like those kind of
Yeah.
movies. They, killed his family or whatever they did, and he had to go kill them and blow it up, and that kind of thing. Kick ass. It was good, mindless entertainment. But that's a macho, manly guy. You can't, you don't look at him that way anymore. You just don't. And it's amazing to me that a guy who's got money, and as Will Kane, my friend Will Kane said, what's the point of having FU money if you can't tell, communist China to F off? I mean, he's got money. He doesn't need. What if he didn't do this? That would have been it wouldn't have been seen on every, screen in China. They said perhaps $1 billion at the box office in China. Well, if he said no, I guess a studio executive could apologize. They could apologize in other ways. They could reach out, but he would still have his reputation. He would still have some credibility. That's all gone.
Well, that's what I was thinking, bigger ramifications than just the movie. I was thinking the studio gets screwed on this long term, not in the short term. But the reality is the studio would definitely fall on their sword, right? And that's normal, right, in business. So that's a normal move.
Yeah, they would do that.
He would go on. Yeah.
I mean, they've literally edited movies. They changed the bad guy in the Red Dawn remake, and talk about a movie that was so perfect you shouldn't mess with it by having a sequel. Red Dawn, the original, was great. It was a A+ movie, and to remake it, they remade it with China as the bad guy. In the original, it's the Soviet Union, and I believe before they actually released it, they changed it to North Korea because they were afraid of offending, their masters in Beijing. And if it were like a democracy, it was just a big country with a lot of money to spend on entertainment, but it was a democracy and they weren't putting people in concentration camps, it would be embarrassing. But this is just insane that you would go to this length to placate a genocidal communist country, and you would do it in Mandarin. I mean, did they require that? I guess it's pretty impressive that he can read Mandarin and read the teleprompter, but if he said no, if he just said, I'll release a statement, that's not good enough. I mean, he should
have just said no, and he can go back to wrestling where they like to travel and make deals with Saudi Arabia, and they don't apologize for it, for Christ's sake. So, hey, just go.
It's true.
Go,
I mean, again, I said this yesterday, if he had a ball gag in his mouth, it wouldn't have been more embarrassing. This is as humiliating as it could get. But I got to be careful because guess who followed me on Twitter yesterday, Callahan?
Oh, no. Who's this? Oh, no.
John Cena pops up and says, John Cena's following you. And I'm like, oh, man, he's coming after me.
Wait a minute. The real John Cena followed you?
Yeah, the real John Cena. He's got 13 million followers.
Holy shit, that's a big follow. Look at you. I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say like John Cena Sr. or something like that. I didn't think.
I know. I think he's got a bunch of brothers in the area because he's from West Newbury and went to Springfield College.
Oh, wow.
But
Gerry versus John Cena, WrestleMania 35. Here we go.
Gerry, it says follows you. He follows not that many people, only 267,000. How does that work? When someone follows 267,000 people on Twitter, how do you keep up? I mean, how do you even know who most of the people are? I mean, I know when I'm following someone who they are, and I know there's a reason I followed them.
Well, it could be like marketing services too. Sometimes they follow people and then they unfollow them to gain followers. You know what I mean? Like if John Cena followed you yesterday, your impulse is probably to follow him back. And so there's marketing services that, do that on speed for celebrities, And
he's got his little bio says a forum of thoughts and perspectives designed to ignite conversations and actions leading to growth and occasional self-promotion. Rise above hate. And he does not tweet about, the Uyghur Muslims being put in concentration camps and
I said yesterday, he's lined up to survive this because he's a motivational guy, right? Like everything he tweets out is about like, hey, stay strong through adversity. Like he'll literally tweet something like that 12 times a day, on all the platforms. So he's this like motivational guy that I think, if anybody is prepared to deal with the backlash of something like this, practice what you preach. I guess he should be prepared for it.
I think he should be a bad guy in wrestling now. Be like a communist sympathizer. Come out with the Chinese flag. That's not. They still do that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I haven't watched in a long time, but yeah.
What's the wrestler who was supposedly Iranian and supported the Iranian regime?
The Iron Sheik.
Yeah, the Iron Sheik.
Yes.
Be like that. He could be like,
Yes.
Cena the commie and whatever. And I mean, it would fit. I mean, again, nobody has groveled like this in the history of Hollywood or entertainment. Nobody has groveled. Obviously, what LeBron did was pathetic and embarrassing, attacking the Rockets general manager for supporting the freedom fighters in Hong Kong. That was despicable. But and again, LeBron criticizes this country while praising that country, the one that provided him with everything, all the riches beyond his wildest dreams. That country, we're racist, we're oppressive, but the Chinese who actually put ethnic minorities in concentration camps, LeBron's cool with them. You just have to be educated. They just have a different way of doing things. He's despicable. He's an a-hole. And I know Cena's allegedly a really nice guy, but man, what a mistake that was. I don't care. How much money was at stake. His reputation, he just took a match and lit it on fire because he will never recover from that. And
well, I said to you though,
changing my tune. I could DM him now.
Yes.
Yeah. And
can you, as my going away gift, can you ask him if I can get backstage passes to the next WWE event at the Garden? That'd be a nice thing.
Yeah, when is the next WWE event?
I think they announced it. I think it's a few months away. I believe they just announced that they're coming back to touring for the first time. Obviously, a year and a half.
And they can bang the place out. The place will be full with unvaccinated people. I'm sure wrestling fans. They're all like Turtle Boy. They don't care. And they'll all be roaming my neighborhood. That's how you know the city will be back, when those 20,000 wrestling fans roaming the streets and throwing up on each other. But I'll DM them. I'll say, hey, can you hook my man Callahan up with backstage? Imagine going backstage. Do you get to actually watch them, shoot up the steroids and
in their tight underwear, basically? Yeah, it seems it'd be an experience. Yeah, I've never been, so it'd be a once in a lifetime experience. I appreciate you reaching out.
I've been, not lately, but I've been, and it's scary. It is scary. It is frightening. But anyway, let's talk about a real sport, not a fake sport, a real sport coming up on July 6th. And I predicted on Twitter that this will beat the NBA Finals in the ratings. I'm not 100% sure of that because I don't know who's going to be in the finals. If it's LeBron against the Sixers or against the Nets with lots of big names, that might get a little bump. But Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson versus Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau. Now, when they announced this, I had a couple of thoughts going in. One was, Tom Brady's got balls, not like balls like he's fighting in a war or something, but he kind of embarrassed himself last year, don't you think, when he was with Phil and they lost to Tiger and Peyton Manning?
Yes, he didn't play too well. It didn't. Now he had a couple good shots, but he didn't play too well. He had
one great shot when he holed out from the fairway and he told Barkley to suck it because Barkley was riding him. But when he started off the first few holes, he looked like you or me. I mean, I think he's like a 8 or 10 handicap on a good day. He looked like a 30 handicap. I mean, he was hitting it sideways. He was killing Mickelson. Mickelson had no shot in this because Peyton was much better. I mean, Phil and Tiger was probably a wash, but Peyton was much better than Tom Brady. And a guy like Brady doesn't need to do this. He doesn't have to go out there and embarrass himself. And I thought it was, if I were Brady, I'd say, I'm not doing that again. That was embarrassing. That was painful. And he can't wait to jump back in. And not only is he jumping back in, and by the way, Bryson and Rodgers are favorites. I saw the odds. They're minus 140, and Brady and Mickelson are plus 140, I think is the number I saw, which makes sense because Bryson's going to hit it so far, and that's going to help an alternate shot. And I don't even know how good Rodgers is, but he's obviously younger and more athletic than Tom Brady. And Brady immediately was trash talking more than he ever has on the football field or before a football game. And I'm thinking, man, you're the guy who's probably the weak link on your team, and you might, you might embarrass yourself on TV again. And again, I give him credit. He's not playing scared. He immediately starts. Let me get some of the tweets from. Yeah, as everyone wrote, this is from Golf Digest. Brady absolutely body bags DeChambeau and Rodgers ahead of the golf match. And he starts taunting Rodgers because the Packers, remember, kicked the field goal, on the 10-yard line at the end of the playoff game, which was embarrassing, but it wasn't Rodgers' call. And he starts taunting Rodgers about kicking the field goal. And he's using that meme of DeChambeau walking behind Brooks Koepka that was going viral.
Yeah.
He writes, 2 old guys against the young bucks, Mickelson and DeChambeau. Better get used to laying up because we know Rodgers isn't going to go for it. That's in a tweet right after it was announced. And then DeChambeau tweets back about something like something about deflating. We're going to beat you so bad you're going to be deflated as the footballs you used. Kind of an old tired line, but at least it was a little spunk from.
There's no shot. I don't know him. You talk to him. I do think he's got a little edge to him, but that's a little too creative. That had to be sent to him in a text by somebody, and then he copied it and tweeted it out. There's no way he can. That's a really good chirp at Aaron Rodgers. That's a great.
How about this chirp from Brooks Koepka, who was not part of this match? All he tweets was "Sorry, bro." Aaron Rodgers. He hates DeChambeau so much. He literally tweets "Sorry, bro" to Rodgers, who has to play with DeChambeau. And I'm not sure if you're Rodgers, you're like, I get to play with the longest hitter on tour. I get to play with one of the biggest stars on tour. He might be, a weirdo, and Koepka doesn't like him because he's self-absorbed like most tour players, and he's a little slow. But, Rodgers probably is not disappointed that this is his partner. I wouldn't guess. I wouldn't think. But whatever, he tweets at
Does Mahomes play golf? Does Mahomes play? He's got to play, right?
Who's great is Steph Curry. I thought Steph Curry might be involved in the next match.
Aaron Rodgers is such a bore. I don't know. Like every meet, he's all over the place now. Like he's on obviously McAfee every week, and he did ESPN for the last show with Kenny Mayne the other night. Right. I feel like he talks everywhere now, and he's just such a boring guy.
And he's playing guitar and singing songs, with his long hair in Hawaii, while his teammates are all in Green Bay for OTAs. And I think he's enjoying the attention. I think he's going to force a trade, unfortunately, for Green Bay. And this is not exactly make him look like he's, locked in, going to play in this match. We'll see how he does. But we mentioned this last year, like people that we'd like to see in the next big match. And I would say Steph Curry was one because he's a really good player. I guess he's not great dynamic personality either. Michael Jordan, doesn't Michael Jordan have to be involved in one of these? He's a degenerate gambler. He's a trash talker, and he plays golf like 36 holes a day. Charles Barkley, just so we could laugh at his swing, which I believe is getting better, but still, he was, involved in whatever match he was involved in. But he's always good for entertainment purposes. LeBron, I don't think LeBron plays, but so what? You could use his, star power, get him out there and try and watch him embarrass himself. That'd be fun. But
yeah,
this will be
listen, it was a great produced event last time. There was nothing to complain about with that event, minus some of the golf that you watched, but the actual production of it and talking back to the studio with the golfers live. So I don't know. And if anybody can, I guess redeem themselves, I'm assuming Brady hasn't played a lot of golf with a million cameras around him like that. Like that had to be.
And this time there's going to be fans, this time, and this time's going to be, whatever. I'd say, 6, 7 million people, 8 million people watching. Again, I know he's not going to get hit in the head and his knee's not going to get buckled, but there's a chance he's going to embarrass himself. And he doesn't do that on TV in front of the world. He does just the opposite. When we watch him in a sporting event on TV, he generally, comes through in a big way in the clutch. And this is a whole different deal. He didn't handle it well last time. He's willing to get back in and try it again. July 6th, from where is it from? Big Sky, Montana. That's another thing. He has that house there. That's where he used to, we'd see him train with a couple of people. Edelman was out there. I think, I don't know, Welker was there, but
Amendola went out there.
Amendola was out there, and they go out there and they, ride mountain bikes and, whatever, drink expensive wine. So maybe.
You know what I was going to ask you? I can't remember. I was playing golf. I was at a golf indoor simulator watching it while playing. And I can't remember. Was it a little slow with only 4 players? I remember thinking it was great production value, but I did wonder if they do it again, would they go get like another foursome and have two things going on at once?
With match play in general, it's the problem when you have those like Accenture match play and you get to Sunday, it's literally 2 guys.
Yeah.
And they make it, make a shot, a tee off or whatever, and you get a lot of dead time to fill, which is why they have Barkley there and they had all these people that were calling in.
Yep.
There is a lot of dead time even with 4, and they have to fill it somehow, but that's the deal. You don't have any consolation match to follow like they do in that one, Accenture or whatever it's called now. In the PGA events that are match play, they have a consolation match to give just something to fill the time, but they don't have that. But this will be good. I still think unless there's something really compelling about the NBA Finals, the NBA ratings suck, and they're worse than last year, which wasn't even a season. So we'll see how many people check out the NBA Finals. I know on July 6th what I'll be watching. It'll be these guys, and people will be rooting for Brady and Mickelson, I think, because they like Mickelson, and they don't necessarily root for Brady, but DeChambeau's kind of annoying, and Rodgers is kind of
That was like my biggest disappointment from yesterday was that Koepka got in the mud with this little joke, and I thought there was real hate between the two. And it seems like after that kind of went viral, actually it was this week, right? All that stuff went viral this week. Now he's like playing around. I don't know. I want real animosity in golf. I want
unfortunately Koepka's not there. So what can you do? He'll be tweeting, but that'll be about it. But
no, but I just mean like he was playing around yesterday with DeChambeau. So it makes me think that little rivalry isn't as real and authentic as it kind of came off earlier this week. But
yeah, they need it. Somebody said that one little eye roll was the best thing to happen to golf since Tiger came back last time. The one little eye roll. These are 2 guys who are always not always, but often in contention. They're both in their prime. They're both in great shape, big hitters. Eventually, they'll be going mano a mano, and that'll be good because the whole world knows they don't like each other. And you pick a side, you pick a guy. I'm not sure who I'll pick between those two. Neither of them is. Not a big fan of either as a guy. They're fun to watch though. But we'll be watching July 6th. Does it have a name? What do they call it? I just saw the promotion.
Wasn't it last time? It was like The Match or something like that.
The Match. It says The Match returns July 6th, and they got these real dramatic photos of the 4 of them. We don't
big time in Big Sky. Big time in Big Sky.
At Moonlight Basin in Big Sky, Montana. Brady probably was like going to be in that house, his mountain house for the 4th anyway. So it works out good for Brady. But all right, a couple other things we got to get to before we wrap this up. I don't know if it's live. I guess it is live. Live on the air on the 5 yesterday, one of my shows that I watch and I enjoy Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters and sometimes the other the lovely Katie Pavlich. It's a good show and it gets great numbers, especially the 5 p.m. slot. But toward the end of the show, Juan Williams announces it's his last show. He's quitting immediately. And immediately, all the conservatives out there who love to hate him are cheering and thrilled. And I mean, I love to hate him. He's annoying. He hates Trump. But the dynamic of Gutfeld versus Juan Williams, I always felt like I was rooting for the better team. I mean, Gutfeld would kill him in these loud, kind of intense debates. Gutfeld always got the better of him, which I enjoyed. And immediately he says, "I'm gone. I'm not going to do the show anymore." And you're wondering who's going to fill in. There's got to be people, but I'm not sure there are. They need an annoying liberal. My first thought is Geraldo Rivera, who's done that show a lot, but he's 77 years old and he lives in Cleveland. I'm not sure he's exactly in his prime and ready to do.
He's also a little too confident and like he's a little too alpha, Geraldo, versus whereas Juan Williams he's a little beta, right? He goes against the other side. He hates Trump, obviously, but at least he's like you can kind of pick on him. You feel like you're picking on him in a fun way. You know what I mean? Like I think that's a good vibe.
And it was very notable, but Dana Perino said all nice things about Juan. They put a little montage of his finest moments. Then Jesse Waters said, it's great working with you. We'll go to a Black Eyed Peas concert. And then like Dagan McDowell was there, said something about him. Gutfeld said nothing. Didn't say, we're going to miss you. We love you. Nothing. Just sat there. So I think the animosity between those two was real. And that's the hardest thing. How do you duplicate that? I think Donna Brazil is still on the payroll. I don't think she can handle a debate with Gutfeld and Waters. I mean, you got to get outnumbered every day and handle yourself. They might have to, and you mentioned this earlier, is they want to have a tryout, a roundtable kind of thing.
Yep.
Who do they even have to try out? I mean, they don't have any good, big name liberals on the payroll that they could throw in there. They might have to bring someone from outside. And unfortunately for them, Fredo Cuomo did not get fired for doing perhaps the most unethical thing a news anchor could do, a network news anchor, when Cuomo met with and strategized with his brother amid these various scandals that Andrew Cuomo was embroiled in. He met and strategized, and reportedly one of Chris Cuomo, Fredo Cuomo's ideas was to attack the women as liars and publicity hounds, the women whom his brother had harassed and molested. Chris Cuomo wanted to brand them as liars, do the old Clinton thing and handle it that way. But Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN, already announced he wouldn't be suspended, he wouldn't be fired. That's a perfectly acceptable behavior for an anchor at CNN. He will not be filling in, taking over for Juan Williams. Joy Reid, she said a lot of things that could get her fired from MSNBC, but no, they don't mind. Al Sharpton, he's still gainfully employed. I'm not sure who they're going to get. Need a real loud, obnoxious, annoying liberal and who's available. So we'll see. I don't even know who they can have try out. It's going to be tough. Maybe they'll have to steal someone from, Brian Williams, is he available? He's still.
Doesn't Brian Williams do well on MSNBC?
Mike Barnacle. Bring him
there
in.
you go.
Yep, have an old guy like Juan Williams and just kick the crap out of him. I could enjoy that, but
that could be fun to watch.
See. We will. We wish Juan Williams well. Whatever. All he had to do was show up for an hour, get his hit.
He said he's not going anywhere, right? He's still going to
slapped around, probably making a couple $1 million. It's the greatest gig in TV, but
I guarantee you, he's making the same money, and he's just going to stay, and he's going to go on all the different shows at different times.
No one's going to watch or care. They only liked him because that show was kind of entertaining. But good luck to him. We'll see what happens. All right, I was going to do the 300-pound WNBA player, but we got to wrap this up. If you hadn't heard, the WNBA coach, and I don't know what team, I don't know his name, was bitching to the ref because this player, this big, huge center, was roughing people up, and he told the ref that he's got to call something because she's 300 pounds, knocking people around, and he said it loud enough for someone to hear. She called him a little white boy or a little white man or a little white something. He gets suspended and fined for exaggerating her weight. What? I mean, it is funny. Which day is it? Is it the day they want to be treated like NBA players, like, real professional basketball players, or do they want to be treated like nice little ladies? Because if a coach ever said that about a big, huge, I don't know, Kendrick Perkins type, or a big, fat NBA player and said he's 300 pounds, no one would think anything of it. She's huge. She said she's 235. That's her claim. So if he said she's 250, would he still get suspended and fined?
Something went down in today's game, and I need to speak on it, because if there's one thing about me, is that I will never let a man disrespect me. Ever, especially a little white one. But
man, a little white man disrespect her. No, no punishment, no suspension for her, but the coach And you got his name here? I don't know, whatever his name is.
Isn't it Miller or something? Yeah, that was from
Doesn't
yesterday.
matter. The coach is suspended and fined because he said she's 300 pounds, and she's huge and she's heavy, but she claims she's only 235, and that's all he did. I guess you don't do that to a lady, particularly if you're a white man, according to her. She injects race into it. She laughs about it. He gets suspended and fined. And you know what? For that, I'm boycotting. I'm not going to watch the WNBA.
Not only that, apparently you're not going to renew your subscription to Sports Illustrated either.
That's true. I tweeted that out. It was, and I should have done this a long time ago. I've been a subscriber to SI for 40 years. I got it free when I worked there. They took good care of me, and I've let it ride for a long time because of some loyalty, and I'm sentimental. I don't want to just give up on it. When they had a transgender swimsuit model, I'm like, God, they tried too hard to be woke. And then I get this issue. I can hold it up for the camera. I get this issue last week with the WNBA. Is this the big girl on the cover? No, the WNBA cover, 3 players. And that's one thing to put. And when I worked there, I sat in meetings when they talk about what's going on the cover, and the priority was what will people buy on the newsstand. And that's why hockey was never on the cover, maybe once a year, because people didn't buy a magazine with hockey on the cover. Nothing against hockey. I covered it a lot when I was there, but you didn't put it there. You put Jordan on there because Jordan sold magazines, or you put I don't know, A-Rod because they sold magazines, or Tom Brady, or put a quarterback on there. Nowadays it'd be Mahomes or Russell Wilson or something, because that sells This doesn't sell magazines to anyone. That is the WNBA, 3 players, and it says no excuses. Why it's time to buy in on the NBA, and why the reasons you haven't are flawed, by Kate Fagan, that former ESPNer, or the woman who was on Around the Horn with the boys' regular haircut. She's writing the story about why you should buy into the NBA. Nobody's going to buy that. Nobody's going to read that. It's just another attempt to be as woke as possible and say, look at us. And it just so happened to have my little notice saying, do you want to re-up? Do you want to renew? And that makes me, really lean heavily to it.
How many WNBA games are televised anyway? Like, does ESPN have rights to WNBA, and do they play more than one a week?
WNBA turns 25, it says at the top. 25 years. And the only interesting thing I can remember of late is a little white coach saying the opposing player is a 300-pounder. And she's not. She's only 235. So that's the news. I'm out. I'm boycotting, and I'm probably letting my subscription lapse, I have to say, for the first time in 40 years. It hurts, but I'm not going to read it. There's nothing. It's not there for me to read. I mean, it's like every other.
You're an athletic guy now, anyway. You're into the athletic.
Right.
Now that the New York Times is likely going to buy them, you're all
might sell out to the New York Times, which means I'm done. I'm done with that. I don't care if it's 1 cent a year. I'm not giving my money, my hard-earned money to the New York Times. But we'll see what happens with that. It hasn't happened yet. All right, I will leave it there. I was going to get into the Arnold Inspector Trump thing, but we could do that another day. It's a little weird. It's a little complicated. So we will do that another day. And it doesn't really indict Trump or Bob Kraft. So it wasn't really that much of a story. But
hey, and before we go, great career, Adam Vinatieri calling it quits.
Adam Vinatieri, Bill Belichick said the best kicker and the best kick ever. I love when people write, is he a Hall of Famer? Of course he's a friggin' Hall of Famer. Best kicker and best kick and Super Bowl champ and everything else. The guy who played forever. Of course he's a Hall of Famer. He's in 5 years easily. Of course, there's not even a doubt. But congratulations to Adam Vinatieri, who broke the story on with his old teammate Pat McAfee. But clearly, best kicker, best clutch, one of the best clutch players, and because he ran down Herschel Walker, he qualifies as a football player, not a kicker, as his teammates all pointed out. All right, we'll leave it there. I got to go get vaccinated. Callahan,
there you go. Good luck. Hey, you might be sick for a couple of days. What do you got? Pfizer? You getting Pfizer?
I don't know. I don't know.
I was knocked on my ass. So
were you?
Good luck. Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
But I'm a weakling. I should be a bubble
I
boy.
think
right here.
if I didn't have to lie to everybody to get into restaurants, I'm afraid I'll have to. It just seems easier to get the jab. Call me a sellout, but
Karen Callahan.
I'm-
That's what they're
I'm-
calling you in the chat. Unbelievable.
I want to be practical. That's all. I want to be. I don't want to be this last man on the island like Turtle Boy, lying to people in front of my family, in front of my kids, lying, having a fake vaccine card. That's a terrible example. But we'll see. I still got a couple hours. I haven't quite decided yet. We shall see. But happy birthday to Riley Cullinane. What are you doing? You going
Thank
to
you.
Chuck E. Cheese?
I don't know. We have a party this weekend planned. She had the balloons this morning, the gifts. So we'll see. I
No,
wasn't too
no,
involved.
still no ball pits. I believe you can't do ball pits at Chuck
Nope.
E. Cheese. Not
No.
yet.
Weren't
Not
ball
yet.
pits like always? Like that was something he always announced. Like for some reason, it was
that's
always in writing. It was in everything I'd read. Like a ball pit was included. Nobody's
Because
thinking
that was always the
about ball
last
pit.
phase. The last phase was ball pits and water parks, and I'm like, what does that really matter? It'd be in the middle of winter, no water parks till whatever. But that's coming up too. Everything's coming up soon as everything opens up, including the Boston Garden for the Bruins and Celtics. Won't really matter to the Celtics, but be kind to Kyrie tomorrow night, Celtics fans. Be kind. Don't hurt his feelings. We got a reputation at stake. We don't want ESPN. We don't want Max Kellerman to get mad at us. So be kind to Kyrie, who's lying about you. And for whatever reason, the teams refuse to support their own fans. But it's an old story, just playing out once again, and it's going to happen tomorrow night at the Garden. And unfortunately, I don't think your team is going to give you a lot to cheer for, but we'll see. All right, we will leave it there. Thanks to Turtle Boy, and thanks to everybody for listening and watching on YouTube. You can leave a comment on Apple Podcast. You can rate and review. Give us a 5-star review if you'd like. That always helps.
Actually, can I do a little public service announcement too? Because we do tell people, we're getting a lot of messages. Apple has caused some problems over the last few weeks. So the solution to the problem, and by the way, if you are a listener, this helps us as well. If you want to do it just generally, unsubscribe and resubscribe. It's very quick. It's very easy. Unsubscribe, resubscribe. It fixes all the problems.
Yes, and tell your friends to resubscribe if they haven't
Yes.
already. Tell them to subscribe. It's important. We appreciate it. Thanks to everybody. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again soon.